Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of H.R. 8235 as amended, the Open Courts Act, which would require the federal judiciary to allow free public access to court records over the internet and modernize the court record system so that it will cost less to maintain and be more secure. This act is the product of over 5 years of bipartisan effort, and I'm so proud that we have gotten the bill to this point. I first want to thank the Majority Leader, Steny Hoyer, for his involvement and commitment to bringing this important legislation to the floor. And I'd like to thank Director Duff and his staff for their recent attention to this bill. I also want to thank Mr. Jordan for his support for this bill at the committee's markup, and I would be remiss if I did not recognize our partners in the Senate, Senators Portman and Wyden, for their leadership and commitment to this effort. And finally, I extend a sincere appreciation to my colleague from Georgia, Doug Collins, the co-lead on this bill, and I want to thank him for his partnership on working to make the federal court record system freely accessible to all Americans. I would also like to thank Perry Applebaum with the Judiciary Committee, Jamie Simpson, and Matt Robinson of my subcommittee, John Farrow with Congressman Collins' office, and I'd also like to give a special thanks to Keith Arbachar with Leader Hoyer's office for all of his efforts to help us be on the floor today with this bill. Without everyone's persistence, dedication, and countless hours of hard work behind the scenes, we would not be here today. Mr. Speaker, wealth should not act as a barrier to access our courts. Whether it's a journalist reporting on the court's activities or a citizen petitioning the court for redress, access to the courts should be free to all, not just to those who can afford it. Forcing the public to pay for access to court records imposes an unnecessary and unconscionable burden on people who are simply engaging in a constitutionally protected activity. Transparency and accessibility should be our goal, not profits and limited access. Court records should be as easy to access as legislation is on congress.gov. All you have to go is put in that website, go to it, and look at all of the legislation that we produce, and you should be able to do the same thing at the federal courthouse. Our courts are a vital part of America's government, and we in Congress have a responsibility to ensure that public records in public courthouses are accessible for free to the public. And this bill provides such protection of our most sacred democratic ideals. Technology has become essential to preserving our First Amendment rights by helping to ensure meaningful access to justice and to court records. It's past time that we bring our federal court record system into the 21st century. Convenient access to public records in public courthouses shouldn't be a privilege for the few who can afford it. It's our duty to change the system, and that's what this bill does. And it finally makes it fairer for everyone else. And I encourage my colleagues, all of my colleagues, to join us voting on this bipartisan piece of legislation.